Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Based Marriage Podcast. This is episode number 2. Today, I want to talk to you about being a stay-at-home parent. Stay-at-home parents. Oh, my goodness. So, husbands and wives, let's just start with this. Husbands and wives are not the same, therefore, they're not equal. And that doesn't mean that one is diminished. It just means that the way in which they are created, experienced, what they're built for is not the same. It doesn't make one more or less, because if you keep trying to put it in that framework, it's not going to work, because it's like saying a Ford F-150 and a Corvette are not equal. But they are equal in, you can't. It just doesn't work, because an F-150 does one thing and a Corvette does something else, and they're built for different reasons, for different ideas. And they both have value, but maybe one has more value than the other in the realm of automobile industry properties and principles. Well, maybe they don't, but it's really futile to try to figure that out. They're both very necessary and very valuable, a husband and a wife, in a marriage. And they're not interchangeable. Yes, either one can cook, but that's like one of the smallest, tiniest little areas in which one can do something the other can do as well. But as a whole, a husband and a wife are not interchangeable. They're received differently by their children. So today we're talking about being a stay-at-home dad. I was a stay-at-home dad for a few years. It was fun. It was easy. We lived in an area somewhat close to the beach. We also had it was almost an hour away. We also had woods nearby. I had toddlers. For part of that time, I worked 40 to 50 hours a week and stayed at home with a kid, which was not great. It was not preferable. I mean, so I had one at the time, and she was an infant. And I was of that mindset of, well, if you just feed her and keep her happy and play with her. I mean, she slept a lot of the time. But I also worked a lot of nights from home. So after my wife got home, I did a lot of work at night till, midnight or whatever stupid. Anyways, so that was part of it. I was in grad school. My wife she was working outside of the home. I was in grad school. I had a side hustle, but the side hustle worked out relatively well. It brought in, look, we were poor, just like pretty much most people, just like a lot of people, when you're young and you're married and you're first having kids, you're poor. So my wife was working as a teacher. I had a side hustle. I was in graduate school at the time. Stayed home with two of my children. They went to, what was it, like nursery school? What do you call that? I know you're shouting it at me. What was it, like Mother's Day Out, where they go for 2 or 3 days a week and it's only for a few hours a day, and they go and sing little songs and do their little glue and crayon art. So they would go to that sometimes. But a lot of days we'd just go out to the beach, or we went to my buddy's house. Okay, so at the time that I was a stay-at-home dad, I also had 5 buddies who were also stay-at-home dads. They had wives who worked for the oil industry and had very lucrative careers with the oil industry, but they would have to move every 2 to 3 years. And so they never got settled in one place long enough for the dad to actually get a job. So I had 5 buddies that were also stay-at-home husbands and stay-at-home dads. And that was fun. And we'd go out to the woods and take the little kids on hikes, and we all had our backpack carriers if the kids got tired. And it was easy. And yeah, all the laundry got done. The floors got swept. They got mopped. The ovens were cleaned. The refrigerators were cleaned. The laundry was done. The bed sheets were changed every week. The bathrooms were cleaned once a week. It was a pretty well-maintained household. Did I say we went to the beach a lot? I would drop the kids off when they got a little bit older. I'd drop them off at school, and I'd go out to the beach with the little one, 2 or 3 days a week. It was fantastic. But it wasn't thriving. It was enjoyable, but it wasn't thriving. it wasn't a thing that I needed. I didn't need that. I probably would have thrived better actually going to work in work that was building a career that I knew that I could provide for my family. I knew that my wife suffered because she was working while I was staying home, even though she really enjoyed being a teacher, and she kept saying she loved being a teacher. She loved being a teacher, but I knew that there was that regret. I knew that she was missing that fulfilling experience of staying home with the kids, of not pumping, but actually breastfeeding them, nursing them. So it wasn't a thing that I needed. And it was a thing that she probably needed, that she didn't get and the kids didn't get. It's very different being raised by a stay-at-home dad than it is a stay-at-home mom. I am not nearly as nurturing as my wife is. Most dads are not as nurturing. I did pretty well. There was empathy. Yeah, I know. But there was also okay, well, let me teach you how to go get a Band-Aid and tough it out and rub some dirt in it and take care of yourself. Yeah, it's going to be all right. Where maybe the kids needed that extra hug and that softness. And even that's a hug and softness that I, as a man, can't give. It's not received as the same hug and softness as it is when it's from a mom. They're just very different. Like if I wash my son's hair and my wife washes my son's hair, he's going to have two different experiences of that. Even if we did everything identically, he's going to go, yeah, that's the difference between a man and a woman washing hair. It's received differently. We smell different. We have different hormone compositions, pheromones, all those sorts of things, if you even want to get into that stuff. So, staying at home as a dad, it was easy. It was easy for me. It was easy for the other men. It was probably the easiest job I've ever had in my entire life. And that was with two toddlers. And then they grew up, and then we had another toddler, another baby. But the two toddlers, and one of them had special needs, like cognitive delays, very low muscle tone. He had to use a walker till he was about 5 because he didn't have the muscle tone to be able to walk without assistance. And he lacks that thing in his mind that tells him that something is dangerous. So he likes to touch the stove. He doesn't do it anymore, but he liked to touch the stove a lot. And he would get burned and then go, ow, and then cry, and then he would come back and then he'd do it again. He didn't know that walking into traffic was dangerous. No, he never walked into traffic, but he didn't know that just like disappearing down the road was something that was dangerous, something that could be harmful to him. So but staying at home was easy. I get up in the morning, I cook breakfast every morning, a hot breakfast. This was no cereal and yogurt business. I prided myself on my work, on how well I could get the home running, on how well I could run the home, how clean, how efficient, made sure everyone was taken care of. I took a lot of pride in this. And I saw it as something that was valuable. Like if I stopped doing it for a week, the whole thing would fall apart. The whole family would fall apart. Because then you don't have clean underwear, you don't have food cooked, you don't have dishes clean. They're all sitting in the sink for a week. That's disgusting. Do you know how many flies and bugs and God knows whatever else decides to move into your home when you haven't done dishes in a week, or laundry in a week, or swept the floors in a week? It's nasty. It's really nasty. So if I wasn't doing that, everything falls apart. If I did it well, everything ran smoothly. It was great. But I made breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I did all the dishes. And I did all the laundry. It was like, all right, today's going to be laundry day. Boom, boom, boom. Yes, I'm choleric. So there is that more of like a take charge personality type. But I believed that work was valuable. I knew that work was valuable. And I knew that I just had to get it done. And I had seen growing up that when I'd go to other families' homes and their moms are doing laundry. They're sitting in front of the television, and then they'd kind of really take their time and move slow so that the laundry lasted as long as the television show. And if the laundry lasted longer than the television show, folding it lasted longer than the television show, then they would bleed into the second show. And it just looked lazy. It looked like she was pacing herself so she could watch a television show. And most of them were stupid, like, I'm not going to say what, soap operas, things like that. So at 11 years old, I thought the shows were stupid. Why would you want to watch this? And you're taking a really long time to do a task that should only take you about 10 minutes. So she's dragging it out a lot. I guess the equivalent of this is probably like watching YouTube shows or doom scrolling Instagram while you're also trying to do laundry. But I'd go, okay, today's laundry day, boom, 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 boom. And then by the end of the day, every article of clothing that was dirty was now clean. And I go, all right, that's it. On to the next thing. All right, time to cook dinner. Okay, time to pick up the kids. Time to do this. Time to do that. And just went, yeah, I can knock this out. Yeah, I can make this clean. This is great. And I knew that it was important. I think that's the most important thing. I knew that it was important work. I believed that I could do it and do it quickly and do it well, and that made me feel good about me. And that's fine. It's fine to feel good about yourself. It's great to feel good about yourself and about doing a good job. And I'd turn on music. I'd turn on Louis Prima, New Orleans jazz trumpet player. He played King Louis in the Disney Jungle Book. Fantastic. You know, I'm the king of the swingers, yeah. The Jungle VIP is a really fantastic movie. Fantastic movie, one of my favorites. But Louis Prima played King Louis, the monkey, the orangutan in there. Maybe he was a chimp. I think he was a chimp. Whatever. Anyhow. So I turned that stuff on and just get to work. And then I put the kids down for a nap and went, okay, now it's nap time, so I can take a nap, which I really didn't need a lot of times, or I could do a workout, which I usually did in the living room, or just, I know a lot of people like to sit on the porch and drink coffee. You could do that too. No big deal. But you take advantage of those up times, those down times, and you do your work accordingly. I had a side hustle, but it required me to leave the house in order to do this side hustle. So I'd have to go to the store and get what I needed to get. And I usually brought the kids, and usually they just sit there in the cart. And no, I didn't ever give them electronic devices. We didn't have any electronic devices. And they'd sit with me, and I just entertain them with it and go, oh, hey, what do you think of this one? You think this is nice? Oh, yeah, I think this. Oh, okay. No, I don't think this one's nice. Well, I'm going to buy this one because I think it's nice, and that's what's important. And so just including them in that and being with them and driving in the car, turning everything into, hey, how do you spell that word? What's that word up there? Spell that for me. And, you know, my 3-year-old daughter is spelling those things, or my 3-year-old son is climbing things that are probably really high and he shouldn't be climbing, but it's better to have a good, competent climber than someone who is incompetent, who then one day tries something that he's not any good at when you're not watching and ends up getting hurt. Anyways, so being a stay-at-home dad, it was a very easy thing because that proper mindset is probably the most important thing. It is important. If you see the job as lame or useless, you will hate it. If you don't understand why it's important, you will hate it. I've raised my daughter. So I have 3 kids. My oldest is my daughter. She's 14. I have raised her, explaining to her that cooking and cleaning is one of the most important jobs on earth. And it is. Because somebody has to do it. We all have to eat in order to live. The U.S. Navy SEALs have to eat in order to fight. And again, if you go back into this, well, it's more important than their fighting, or it's equal to their fight. It's just as important as the fight. Stop trying to make everything equal. It doesn't work. It doesn't matter. This can be a good thing, and that can be a good thing, and you don't have to rank them. But cooking and cleaning is necessary. And when it isn't done, people notice. And when it is done, and when it's done well, it can give tremendous life to the soul. My daughter has taken this to heart, and she learned how to cook. I didn't teach her I taught her how to cook, like how to get her hands dirty, how to open cans, how to cut vegetables at a very young age. So I got her interested in it. I included her in it. But I didn't teach her much about the skill of cooking. That's something she picked up on her own. She developed, and she sees, and I make sure, because when you're training somebody to do something, you have to reinforce it. So I make sure that when she cooks, when she bakes something, that I show her that I am appreciative. Wow, this is really fantastic. Thank you so much. Do you understand how much just that one little morsel that you gave me as a treat makes me feel good? I feel good. I feel good having lobster stuffed ravioli. I feel good having chocolate chip banana walnut bread. I feel good tasting those things, and knowing that you made that with me in mind, that boosts my spirit. And you can't buy that. You can buy good food. You can buy good food from a stranger, but that stranger wasn't thinking of you because they love you. They're making food because that's what they do, which isn't a bad thing. But she's thinking of me and saying, hey, I made this for you. I know that you love this recipe. So I'm going out of my way to make this for you because I want your life to be better, because I want to show you love. You can't buy that. That's fantastic. And I let her know that's one of the biggest things that you can do for people. It is important to be loved just for being you. It's not based on what you do, but the things that you do are important. Your children will grow and thrive because of the love that you showed them, because you kept their home tidy. Tidiness is not the only thing you need. You need a whole bunch of other things. Empathy is important, emotional connection, getting over whatever codependency you may have. Whenever you're trying to essentially take from your children for your emotional gratification, that's just pretty much a good solid no. If you're giving to them for their gratification, giving them emotional lessons, connecting with them, giving them what they need, that's a good rule of thumb. Give them what they need. Don't take from them for your emotional gratification. So, being a stay-at-home mom is extraordinarily valuable, and no one can replace her. And I was working with somebody recently who even said that. I was born, my mom had 6 weeks of maternity leave, and then I was sent off to daycare. And for the rest of my life, I've been looking for my mom. I've been looking to please the woman who is my mom. Where is my mom? Is this the one that's finally going to love me? A 6-week-old, even a 6-week-old, even younger than that, can feel the pains of abandonment, even though mom's not intending to abandon this child or make him feel abandoned. This child will feel abandoned. I feel the lack of my mother. Her presence in the home is like the sun. I forget who that was. Pope Pius XII, I think, or Pius XI. Her presence is like the sun, and how cold and lifeless is it when the sun disappears? Her presence is like the sun. Dad's presence is important too, but in a very different way. He's the rock, but she is the sun. Her warmth gives life to all. So, if you are struggling with being a stay-at-home mom, remember, this is important. You were told your whole life that just to cook and clean? That's the most important job, because you're keeping the whole family running by doing the cooking and the cleaning. They need the food. They need the things cleaned. It is a need. It's not a want. It's a need. Everybody needs to eat. But if you see the value in doing that, and there is real, true, inherent value in doing that, if you see that value in doing that, you will thrive. You will thrive. So turn on some music, something you enjoy, something upbeat, or something peaceful, not something emotional and sad, but something that's going to help you just, okay, this is enjoyable. Yes, I'm in a good mood and I'm going to go do the laundry right now. I'm going to go clean the bathrooms. Yep, bathrooms are nasty. Don't think about that. Just clean it. Just make it clean. It's good work. It's important work. It's necessary work. Not only does somebody have to do it, but it's best if you are there and you are providing these things for your family. You are loving your family in this way. Being a stay-at-home mom is tremendous. You know, I've talked to a lot of women who are older, whose kids were grown and have moved off. And I've heard a lot of regret that they didn't stay home with their kids, that they didn't have enough time with their kids, that they chose a career instead of staying home with their families. But I haven't ever heard a man older in life who said, I wish I stayed home with my kids. Men don't have that need in the same way. Men have a need to be around their family, to spend time with their family, but we understand that's not the only thing we're there for. We're supposed to go out and we're supposed to do work and to conquer and to bring home the bacon, and we all know it and we all feel it. So we don't have any expectations of staying at home, and we don't have any biology or psychology or anything else like that saying, I just really want to be a stay-at-home dad. This is something that really is going to help me thrive. It's just not that way. Men and women are different. Women have that need. There was a poster the other day on Twitter. I think it was, Patriarchy Housewife or something like that. Yeah, there was a poster the other day on Twitter. I can't even say the word. There was a poster the other day on Twitter who goes by Patriarchal Housewife. I think she was talking about how little girls instinctively need, they have this really strong urge, this yearning, this need to be a mother, and they feel it. Maybe it was, who's the other girl, Extra Moisturized or Very Moisturized or whatever her handle is. But they were talking about having this really strong need. Little girls have a really strong need to be a mother, like a really strong urge. There's also, what do they call it? Baby fever. A pregnancy, desire to be pregnant, desire to have a baby is contagious, and it is. And there's this urge. But men also have a desire for that, but it's not the same thing. We don't have that same instinctual urge in that same way. Yes, we want to have children. We want to have children like us. These are important things, but it's not the same like that. Almost where a woman kind of goes into autopilot and gets into a place of desperation in order to have that baby. It's a beautiful thing. It's fantastic. It's a really interesting thing. And they will even settle for puppy dogs or turtles or kittens or anything else to try and satisfy that need. But it's a real need. So if I had to do it again and I had, stable work, I was able to have stable work at that period, I think I would gladly give up being the stay-at-home dad. Even though it was fantastic, I would give up being a stay-at-home dad because it wasn't a thing that I really needed. I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it, but I would give that up in order to be able to have stable employment and provide for my family so that my wife could stay at home. Because like I said, it was great. It just isn't as important to me as it is to her. And me staying at home isn't as important to me as having my wife stay at home is important to me. Well, thank y'all for watching or listening to another episode of Based Marriage Podcast. Please make sure to subscribe. Have a great day. We'll talk soon.